Segment, Shedeur Sanders and Kevin Stefanski. Shedeur Sanders wasn't supposed to be the leader yet. But after the Browns' 26-8 implosion, when Jimmy Haslam lunged into a screaming match with Kevin Stefanski, it wasn't a veteran or coach who took charge, it was the 21-year-old under center. He stepped between billionaire owner and embattled head coach, not with words, but with presence. The moment wasn't about a fight, it was about who had the control, and Sanders quietly claimed it without saying a word. Segment, Shedeur Sanders. Speaking, it's not just that Sanders intervened, it's that he was the only one who could. The internal dysfunction is no longer behind closed doors. The Browns are crumbling from the top down, and while Haslam fumes and Stefanski falters, Sanders stands out as a player with the vision, calm, and maturity this franchise desperately lacks. Segment, CB Cleveland Browns Matches Master Collection. So, the Cleveland Browns got humiliated 26-8 by the 49ers, and what happened afterward made the loss look tame by comparison. Segment, Jimmy Haslam. In Browns match, this wasn't just a bad day on the field. It was a full-on meltdown inside the organization. According to multiple reports, team owner Jimmy Haslam completely lost it in the tunnel after the game, directing his fury straight at head coach Kevin Stefanski. This wasn't your usual behind-closed-doors disagreement. This got loud, aggressive, and almost physical. Segment, Shedeur Sanders and Kevin Stefanski too. Yes, that bad. And then, stepping in to stop it from getting worse? Not a team captain. Not a longtime vet. But rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders. A fifth-round pick, the youngest guy in the room, inserting himself between Haslam and Stefanski like the only adult in the building. That one moment says everything about where this team is right now. The head coach is losing games in the locker room. The owner is openly furious. And a rookie quarterback is trying to hold everything together. The Browns aren't just underachieving, they are unraveling. Let's be very clear here. This confrontation didn't just come out of nowhere. Haslam's outburst was a breaking point in a season that's been defined by strategic confusion, poor play calling, and a complete failure to correct obvious problems. Week after week, the Browns are making the same mistakes, and Stefanski's refusal to adapt or take accountability has turned frustration into open hostility. Segment, Kevin Stefanski Master Collection. The coaching decisions against the 49ers were just the latest disaster. A critical 4th-and-1 call went to a tight end. Yes, a tight end, in one of the most baffling offensive calls of the year. When you have a young quarterback under center trying to prove himself, those are the moments where you show trust. Instead, the coaching staff chose trickery over fundamentals, and it backfired. Again, this is exactly the kind of play calling that's killing this team. It's not aggressive, it's desperate. And the players feel it. Every time the Browns reach a high-leverage moment, the playbook tightens, and the decisions start looking like guesswork. That breeds confusion. That kills morale. And eventually, it leads to owners blowing up in tunnels and rookies stepping in to stop the fallout. And don't even get started on special teams. The unit has been a mess all season. Muffed punts, busted coverage, poor execution across the board. Special teams coordinator Bubba Ventrone has had more than enough time to clean it up, and yet the issues persist. These aren't isolated mistakes. They are symptoms of a system that's broken from the inside out. Games are being lost on simple errors that should have been fixed weeks ago. Add it all up, and what you get is a team in crisis. Not just from losing, but from how they are losing. With questionable strategies, poor communication, and a locker room that no longer trusts the sideline. Segment, Shedeur Sanders, interview, which brings us right back to that tunnel. Haslam wasn't just yelling because of one game. He was reacting to a season that spiraled into dysfunction. A team that's talented on paper, but completely adrift. And the fact that it was Shedeur Sanders, still fresh to the league, who had to step in to de-escalate says everything about the leadership vacuum the Browns are dealing with right now. Because Sanders is not just a rookie anymore. He's becoming the guy. Despite being a 5th-round pick, Sanders has consistently shown poise, leadership, and maturity well beyond his age. His ability to keep the offense together, his handling of media pressure, and now his role in preventing a locker room implosion, is doing the things that actually define a franchise quarterback. And that's why the conversation inside the building is shifting. Sources say ownership is seriously considering a full coaching overhaul. Stefanski, Ventrone, maybe even GM Andrew Berry. No one's job is safe right now. The thinking is simple. If Sanders is that guy, then the Browns need a staff that can actually build around him. Because what they have now, it's not working. And it's not salvageable. There's a growing sense that this season, as ugly as it's been, might actually be the moment that forces real change. That what happened in the tunnel wasn't just a meltdown, it was a wake-up call. And if the Browns listen, they might actually come out of this stronger. Segment. Jimmy Haslam. Photos. Because talent isn't the issue here. This team has serious pieces. Offensively, there's upside with Judkins and Fannin. On defense, Myles Garrett is still one of the most dominant forces in the league. There is a core worth building around. But none of it matters if the coaching staff keeps making the same mistakes and dodging accountability. This year has exposed everything. The fragile team culture, the lack of adaptability, and the absence of leadership from the top down. And you can't hide dysfunction when your owner is ready to throw fists at your head coach in plain view. Haslam clearly isn't just angry, he's done waiting. And honestly, that's probably a good thing. Because this team has reached a critical fork in the road. They can either keep patching holes, pretending things are fine, and watching games slip away every week, or they can rip off the Band-Aid and rebuild this organization the right way, from the inside out. Segment. Kevin Stefanski, speaking. And if that means letting go of Stefanski, so be it. If it means cutting ties with underperforming coordinators, it's overdue. If it means giving full control to someone who can actually maximize Sanders' potential and restore order to this locker room, that's the only real path forward. There's no sugarcoating what this season has become. It's a mess. The play calling is a mess. The special teams are a mess. The locker room dynamics are fragile. The leadership structure is unclear. And the only thing keeping the whole thing from completely collapsing is a 21-year-old rookie who just arrived and is already holding people accountable. That tells you everything. The clock's ticking on this coaching staff. The games ahead won't change much in terms of playoff hopes, but they'll say a lot about what kind of leadership this team wants moving forward. And ownership knows it. Fans know it. Players definitely know it. If they choose the right coach, fix the culture, and build around Sanders the way they should, there's a real future here. The raw materials are there. But if they try to duct tape this thing back together again, we'll be right back here next year, watching another avoidable meltdown and asking the same tired questions. Segment. CB Cleveland Browns Matches Master Collection. Let us know how you're feeling after this loss. Is it time to move on from Stefanski? Who do you want to see lead this team into the next era? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit like if you're tired of the Browns shooting themselves in the foot, and subscribe so you don't miss a second of this organizational soap opera. Something tells me we're in for a dramatic off-season. It's hard to overstate just how bad things have gotten in Cleveland, and not just on the scoreboard. The 26-8 beat though by the 49ers wasn't just another loss. It was an unraveling. The Browns weren't outplayed, they were outcoached, outprepared, and out of answers. And the post-game chaos? That didn't happen in a vacuum. That was a consequence of weeks, even years, of dysfunction boiling over. Jimmy Haslam, who usually stays behind the scenes, finally snapped. And honestly, how could he not? Here's a guy who's dumped resources into this team. Hired who he was told were the right football minds. Drafted the system guys. Paid the stars. Handed Kevin Stefanski the keys to a roster loaded with potential. And what does he get in return? A conservative, stale offense that calls trick plays on 4th and short and treats the quarterback like a side character in his own story. Segment. Shedeur Sanders, press conference. And then there's the kicker, literally and figuratively. Special teams has cost them how many games now? It's the same story on repeat. Muffed punts. Missed blocks. Poor coverage. And it's never corrected. Bubba Ventrone's unit isn't just underperforming, it's borderline negligent. And no one's doing anything about it. The coaching staff just shrugs, throws out the same vanilla answers post-game, and hits copy-paste on the next week's disaster. So Haslam, fresh off watching his team get embarrassed again, heads down into the tunnel, and it all erupts. He finds Stefanski. Words fly. And this time, it's not quiet. It's not calculated. It's raw, angry, public. Witnesses say it nearly turned physical. And who steps between them? Not a team captain. Not a veteran. Not even a member of the front office. It's Shedeur Sanders. The rookie. The fifth-round pick. The quarterback who wasn't even supposed to be the centerpiece of the franchise, but somehow already is. That moment, right there, tells you more about the state of the Browns than any box score ever could. Because when your rookie quarterback is the most composed leader in the building, the culture is broken. The hierarchy is upside down. And what you have isn't a team, it's a powder keg. Shedeur stepping in wasn't about ego. It wasn't about optics. It was about survival. Someone had to stop the explosion. Someone had to remind the room who they are supposed to be playing for. And incredibly, that someone was a 21-year-old playing in one of the league's most dysfunctional systems. Segment, SS Shedeur Sanders, NFL match compilation. And yet, through all of this, Sanders continues to carry himself with professionalism. He doesn't throw teammates under the bus. He doesn't point fingers. He just suits up, tries to make plays, and now, apparently, breaks up roles between the two most powerful people in the organization. That's not just maturity. That's leadership. The kind you build a franchise around. Which brings us to the only question that matters now. Are the Browns finally going to start building around Shedeur Sanders, or are they going to keep wasting his prime before it even starts? Because let's be honest, the current coaching staff has no idea how to use him. You've got a quarterback who can read defenses, escape pressure, extend plays, and stay poised under fire, and they are calling gadget plays like it's Pop Warner. They take the ball out of his hands on critical downs. They overthink in the red zone. They coach not to lose, and then act surprised when they get steamrolled by a team that actually came to win. Segment, CB Cleveland Browns Matches Master Collection. The game plan against San Francisco? Abandoning what worked early, getting conservative after one bad drive, and then doubling down on low percentage calls when desperation kicked in. That's not coaching. That's panic. And the players feel it. You can see it in their body language. They are frustrated, confused, tired of being put in positions to fail. And when that starts to fester, it infects everything: locker room dynamics, communication, accountability. Segment, J.H. Jimmy Haslam. Photos. Haslam didn't just explode because of one game. He exploded because his team has no identity, no direction, and no pulse. And here's the irony. For the first time in years, the Browns actually have a real shot to turn this around. They just have to stop getting in their own way. Segment, SS Shedeur Sanders. Speaking. Because the car. It's there. Shedeur Sanders has already shown enough to be viewed as a future franchise quarterback. Myles Garrett is still a generational pass rusher. There's emerging offensive talent with Judkins and Fannin. There are pieces on both sides of the ball that, with the right leadership, could become a real playoff contender. But none of that matters if the head coach is playing scared and the coordinators are asleep at the wheel. The front office knows it. The players know it. The fans definitely know it. Segment, KS Kevin Stefanski Master Collection. Now it's up to Haslam to do something about it. Right now, the expectation inside league circles is that sweeping changes are coming. Not in February. Not after a PR-safe evaluation period. Soon. Because this isn't just about failing to meet expectations. It's about systemic failure. Cultural rot. The kind of dysfunction that, if left unchecked, destroys careers and wastes talent. If the Browns don't act quickly, they are going to lose the few things that are still working. Sanders' confidence. The respect of the veterans. The buy-in from the locker room. All of that is on the line right now. And frankly, keeping Stefanski around past this point feels like negligence. He's had his window. He's had his excuses. But now, the team isn't just underperforming. They are melting down. Segment, J.H. Jimmy Haslam. Meeting. And while we're at it, let's talk about accountability. Because that's what's missing here. No one's been held responsible for the special teams disasters. No one's been called out for the poor game management. The pattern is clear. Problems arise, press conferences happen, and nothing changes. That's not leadership. That's denial. And Haslam, finally, seems done pretending everything's fine. The rest of this season, as ugly as it's been, is now a test. Not for wins. Not for playoff implications, but for direction. How do the Browns respond? Do they finally rip out the roots of this dysfunction? Or do they try to tape it back together and pray that somehow this same formula will magically work next year? Segment Shedeur Sanders, Press Conference. That answer will define the next era of Cleveland football. Because Shedeur Sanders isn't just another quarterback. He's showing the kind of traits teams spend years looking for. He stepped between a billionaire and his head coach and told them both to calm down, not with words, but with presence. That's special. You don't squander that by sticking with the same staff that put you in this position to begin with. The locker room deserves better. The fans deserve better. And Sanders? He's earned better. Segment CB Cleveland Browns Matches Master Collection. So here we are, at the tipping point. Cleveland can either double down on a failing structure or clean house and actually build something around their new leader. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be quick. But if the Browns make the right moves now, if they bring in a coaching staff that actually understands how to maximize talent, develop young quarterbacks, and run a disciplined team, this chaos could be the start of something new. It could be the moment the Browns finally stop being the punchline and start being the problem for other teams. There's no more hiding. No more "we'll fix it in practice." No more "the process is good" soundbites. The Cleveland Browns are out of excuses. The 26-8 collapse to the 49ers was just the final brick falling off a foundation that's been crumbling all year. But what makes this implosion different, what elevates it from a bad loss to a full-blown organizational crisis, is the scene that unfolded in the tunnel after the game. Segment Jimmy Haslam. In Browns match, owner Jimmy Haslam, who typically operates behind the scenes, exploded. Not a passive-aggressive remark. Not a tense meeting scheduled for Monday. We're talking live, in person, shouting match with your head coach level rage. And it didn't stop there. It reportedly got so heated, it nearly turned physical. Segment Shedeur Sanders and Kevin Stefanski. And standing in the middle of it? Shedeur Sanders. The rookie. The new guy. A fifth-round pick not even supposed to start this season. Now suddenly the emotional glue of a franchise unraveling in real time. When you hear stories like this, there's usually a level of exaggeration. Not this one. Witnesses confirmed what everyone had long suspected. The frustration inside the Browns locker room has finally boiled over, and now it's not just a football problem. It's a leadership problem. A cultural one. And Shedeur's role in diffusing that moment? It wasn't just symbolic. It was seismic. The Browns aren't being led by their head coach. They are being held together by a 21-year-old rookie. Let that sink in. Segment Kevin Stefanski, post-game interview. Because that tells you everything you need to know about where things stand in Cleveland. Kevin Stefanski, whose conservative play calling and game mismanagement have defined this team's downward spiral, is no longer the leader in that building. That title belongs, unofficially, but undeniably, to Sanders. And that should terrify the coaching staff. You can't keep preaching structure and system when your own system is failing your players on every level. When your owner is publicly losing faith. When your locker room looks to your rookie quarterback to keep the team from going up in flames. That's not a bad day. That's a broken culture. Segment Shedeur Sanders, sidelined. Let's talk about Stefanski's play calling one more time, because this is where things truly fall apart. That infamous 4th and 1 call, the one where the Browns handed the ball off to a tight end, that wasn't just a bad call. It was a betrayal of the players, of the fans, of basic football logic. When you're in a high-stakes, short-yardage situation and your offense is grinding, you don't get cute. You don't outthink yourself. You trust your best players. Instead, Stefanski called a trick play out of desperation, an over-engineered, low-percentage gamble that reeked of fay. It backfired, of course. Because that's what desperation does. It creates chaos, not confidence. And everyone watching knew it, including Shedeur Sanders. You could see it on his face. He knew that moment could have gone differently if they had just let him take control. And that's not ego. That's leadership. That's belief in your ability to execute under pressure. And when your coaching staff doesn't share that belief, you lose the locker room. It's already happening. Segment CB Cleveland Browns Matches Master Collection. But the chaos isn't limited to offense. Special teams has been a disaster. Consistently. And the fact that it's still costing games this far into the season is absurd. It's not just one-off errors, it's a pattern of neglect. Muffed punts. Missed tackles. Mental lapses in coverage. These aren't rookie mistakes, they are coaching failures. Bubba Ventrone has not adjusted, has not corrected, has not shown progress. And yet, week after week, nothing changes. That's the kind of thing that spreads rot through a team. When one phase is clearly broken and no one is held accountable for it, why would the rest of the roster believe anything will change? That's the story of the Browns this year. Lots of talent. Lots of potential. No accountability. Segment, J.H. Jimmy Haslam. Photos. And now, with the season spiraling out of control, Haslam's reaction in that tunnel feels less like an outburst and more like a long-overdue detonation. He didn't just see a loss. He saw a team incapable of making basic adjustments. A coaching staff that's lost touch with its players. And a quarterback who, despite every structural failure around him, continues to rise. Segment, Shedeur Sanders. Speaking. Because let's be real, Shedeur Sanders is the future of this team. He's poised, mature, emotionally intelligent, and despite being thrown into a burning building, he hasn't flinched. He's taken hits. He's kept composure. He's kept his teammates focused. And now, he's keeping his own head coach and team owner from throwing punches. That's not normal. That's rare. Segment, J.H. Jimmy Haslam and Andrew Berry, which is why the Browns front office is now reportedly re-evaluating everything. From Stefanski to Ventrone to Andrew Berry's personnel decisions. Because they know if they want to build a winner around Sanders, they have to start fresh. No more patchwork fixes. No more wait-and-see policies. A clean slate. And that means Stefanski's days are likely numbered. His refusal to adapt, his trust issues with his own quarterback, and his inability to manage game situations have all led to this point. The Browns aren't trending down. They've already hit the floor. Segment, Milligram Myles Garrett. Speaking, what comes next will define the next 5 years of this franchise. If they get it right, if they bring in a coach who can connect with Sanders, elevate his game, and install discipline throughout the roster, Cleveland could become a real contender. Because despite the chaos, there's talent here. Judkins, Fannin, Garrett, Sanders. But none of that matters if the system around them is broken. If the culture doesn't change. If the coaching staff remains stuck in a loop of predictable calls and reactionary leadership. Segment, Shedeur Sanders, interview. And fans? They are over it. They've watched this team self-destruct season after season with new faces, new rosters, but the same fundamental issues. This year, the implosion just went public. Because when your owner is almost fighting your coach and your rookie quarterback has to break it up, there's no more pretending this is normal. It's not. It never was. It's not about a bad play. It's about years of unchecked mistakes finally crashing into reality. The Browns have hit a wall. And now, with a rare young leader already emerging under center, the pressure is on to not waste him. Because Shedeur Sanders is showing every sign of being a foundational piece. He's more than just a promising rookie. He's already stepping into the leadership void left by a failing Raheem. He's already proving he can command respect without demanding it. He is the future. And if the Browns want a future worth believing in, they need to clear the wreckage and start building around him now, not later. Not next season. Now. Segment, J.H. Jimmy Haslam, meeting. So where do they go from here? That's on Jimmy Haslam. He's angry. Publicly. Openly. And for once, justifiably. Now he has to back that emotion with action. Let Stefanski go. Rebuild the staff. Bring in leaders who know how to develop quarterbacks and foster real accountability. Put Sanders in a position to grow and win. Because this team can't afford to let history repeat itself. Segment, CB Cleveland Browns Matches Master Collection. Let us know your thoughts. Do you trust the Browns to make the right call this time? Is it too soon to crown Sanders the future, or has he already earned that title? Should Haslam fire everyone now, or wait until the off-season? Drop your comments below. Hit like if you're ready to turn the page, and subscribe if you want to follow every twist in what might be the Browns' most chaotic season yet. Because this story, far from over.